Good evening and welcome to this evening's Torah. I've changed the name, Jerry. I don't know if you noticed that from last week. I'm calling it Torah is for everyone. I like it better than Torah 101 to tell you the truth because it really is. It's for everyone. And it says that over and over again in the Torah that there's only one God and one Torah, one chukah, one mishpat for everyone. So tonight it's the Torah portion is called Behalotecha, which is the lighting of the lights and the menorah, the candles. And as usual, I had a lot of excitement reading it and learning some new things. And hopefully, I'll be able to share it with all of you. So, Jerry, it's nice to see you. Jerry Lipstein, Miriam Birnbaum, Baruch Shulman, and I say hi to me, Peggy Pardo, because I can see my face on the screen. And for all those who are watching online, I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. So let me share the screen and we will begin to read. Jerry, would you like to read tonight?
Okay, just a bit.
Okay, go ahead.
And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron, and say unto him, When thou lightest the lamps, the 7 lamps shall give light in front of the candlestick. And Aaron did so. He lighted the lamps thereof so as to give light in front of the candlestick, as the Lord commanded Moses. And this was the work of the candlestick, beaten work of gold, unto the base thereof, and unto the flowers thereof. It was beaten work, according unto the pattern which the Lord had shown Moses. So he made the candlestick. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Take the Levites from among the children of Israel, and cleanse them. And thus shalt thou do unto them, to cleanse them, sprinkle the water of purification upon them, and let them cause a razor to pass over all their flesh, and let them wash their clothes, and cleanse themselves. Then let them take a young bullock, and its meal offering, fine flour mingled with oil, and another young bullock shalt thou take for a sin offering. And thou shalt present the Levites before the tent of meeting, and thou shalt assemble the whole congregation of the children of Israel. Question?
Yes.
No, because I didn't realize number 7, and thou shalt do unto them to cleanse them, sprinkle the water of purification upon them, and let them cause a razor to pass over all their flesh. I didn't realize that they had that particular thing to cause a razor to pass over all the flesh.
Yeah, I think that, you see, God deals with us in a very physical way. And um, when they were living in the desert, it was so hot, there was no air conditioning. And they would need to go into the tent of meeting. And I know that when people have, they don't take the hair out from under their arms and they sweat, the smell is so bad. So here, this is my understanding of what they would do. I'm sure the rabbis have their understanding. They would cause a razor so that they would take all the hair off and they wouldn't sweat in the same way. There was another thing that I noticed, Jerry. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just listening to what you say. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. That's my take on this. One of the things that it says here in verse 4, and this was the work of the candlestick, which is the nerot, the lights, the candles, the menorah. Actually, this was the menorah, beaten work of gold. And it says it was made according to the pattern which the Lord had shown Moses. That's how he made the candlestick, the menorah. So we see here that God didn't only give Moses the 10 Commandments while he was up on Mount Sinai. He, for the 40 days and 40 nights, he showed things to Moshe that he was then going to present to the people of Israel. And I believe this was probably where the idea of the
Ner Tamid.
no, of
No?
the oral Torah comes from.
Yes, I was just thinking. Right?
Yeah, for the oral Torah, meaning that God, this is how the rabbis then gave themselves permission to make to do the Talmud, to make the Talmud.
But as far as the oral Torah goes, there's no real basis for that.
No, because it says he wrote all the words, but he would have shown Moses how to do certain things because it wasn't explicit in the words. It's like, he said, okay, build a menorah, but how would Moses have known what a menorah would look like? He would have shown him
Right.
something from the heavenly realm. To me,
Okay.
that's incredible.
But I mean, yeah, I love those passages.
Yeah.
But here, so they're just gleaning this from their imagination in a sense based on this, but there's nothing that says that God was given those words, like that Moses was given those words, the oral Torah. I mean, just to
No.
clarify.
No.
Okay.
There was nowhere that it was given because it says Moses wrote all the words that God had spoken.
And even before that, Moses was constantly writing things down, not only up on the mountain, like throughout the journey in the Exodus.
Exactly, which is how we have the Torah today. And
Right.
here it says, this I find very interesting, and you shall present the Leviim before the Lord. So the whole congregation is presenting the Levites to the Lord, and it says, and Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, and the word is they were laying their hands on them, on the Levites, which is where we get the idea of smicha. See
Right.
here? Smichu. The smicha it was the whole congregation who were laying their hands on the children. They were giving the Levites their role. It wasn't just Moshe, it was all the people. And so they were acknowledging that they were going to be doing what God was calling them to do.
Right.
Okay? Jer, you want to continue?
I think I'm on 8 or 9.
11.
And Aaron shall offer the Levites before the Lord for a wave offering from the children of Israel, that they may be to do the service of the Lord. And the Levites shall lay their hands upon the heads of the bullocks, and offer thou the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering unto the Lord, to make atonement for the Levites.
Could I ask a question? When it says you shall present the Levites before the Lord, where's the wave offering?
Here.
Right. And Aaron shall, what does he, what, I forget what that is really, they're dedicating.
To tell you the truth, I was just going to stop, Jerry, because I asked myself the same question when I was reading this, and I was looking up some of the rabbis to see what they said. And there's a teaching in the Talmud from what's called Siftei Chachamim, where the word henif, it's where is it? Here, henif. They shall elevate the Levites, the Levim, before the Lord, and the wave offering comes from the same idea as the offering that they would give for leprosy. And it says the Levites required live waving like guilt offerings of a leopard. The Levites were like a covering for the firstborn who worshipped idols. And it says they were called sacrifices for the dead, reversing the old pattern. So it goes a little deeper than something that we would just see without really delving a little bit deeper into it.
What number?
Now, is that okay, Miriam?
I guess I'm not sure it's okay. I'm not sure I understand. So you're saying they're like set apart. The Levites are set apart to
Yeah,
to
originally it would have been, we're going to see here continuing. Let's continue on because it'll become clear. Remember, the Torah always explains itself.
yeah.
So when we
Okay.
continue on, we'll see a little more about that whole idea. You can't just take one little verse. You have to see it in context with
Right.
everything that goes on around it. Okay, where are we?
12,
Jerry,
I think.
12. Okay, Jer.
And the Levites shall lay their hands upon the heads of the bullocks, and offer thou the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering unto the Lord, to make atonement for the Levites. Thou shalt set the Levites before Aaron and before his sons, and offer them for a wave offering unto the Lord. Thus shalt thou separate the Levites from among the children of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine. And after that shall the Levites go in to do the service of the tent of meeting, and thou shalt cleanse them and offer them for a wave offering, for they are wholly given unto me from among the children of Israel, instead of all that openeth the womb, even the firstborn of all the children of Israel.
It's just sorry,
Yeah,
interesting.
hold on. Let's finish. Let him finish reading and then we'll talk about all this. Just go to the end of 17.
Have I taken them unto me. For all the firstborn among the children of Israel are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sacrificed them for myself. I sanctified them for myself.
And I've taken the Levites instead of all the firstborn among the children of Israel. So originally, all the firstborn male of Israel were going to be, remember, God said, I'm going to make you a nation of priests, of Kohanim. And he was going to take all the firstborn males of Israel, and they would be the priests. But after the sin of the golden calf, everything changed. And God chose the Levites, the Leviim instead, because they were the only tribe who stood with Moses when the others were worshiping the golden calf. They stood with, when Moses said, go, call the Levites to go among their own families, among their own people, and kill those with the sword who had instigated the worshiping of the golden calf. So now it would be the Levites who would replace the firstborn, and they would be they would now be the Bechorim. We see in Exodus 13:2, in Egypt, God sanctified all the firstborn in place of those who were killed. And here in the desert, he was going to sanctify them again. And then later on, when they will enter Eretz Israel, they will be set apart again. Now, so it says originally the firstborn sons were to have been the priests. That's what I said. So God
You're
spared.
saying before this, the Levites weren't set apart? It's only because of after the golden calf.
Exactly.
Wow.
It was going to be the firstborn of all the males among the children of Israel, the firstborn in all the 12 tribes. But because of their failure, then God said, okay, now it's just the Bechor, just the Levites will be my Bechor. Yeah.
And I have given the Levites, they are given to Aaron and his sons from among the children of Israel, to do the service of the children of Israel in the tent of meeting, and to make atonement for the children of Israel, that there be no plague among the children of Israel, through the children of Israel coming nigh unto the sanctuary. You know that Aaron is a Levite as well, eh?
Is he Amram?
Aaron and his sons are all Levites. I'm just making a little point. People
Okay,
don't.
yes.
People don't think about that. Aaron and his sons are Kohanim, Levites, and Israels.
Okay, great. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Thus did Moses and Aaron and all the. I wasn't necessarily reminding you, Peggy. I was just making a comment here.
An observation, good, because, I'd have to look it up again because my head can be sometimes like a sieve.
Well, you didn't have to look that up because all the people are Israelites. There's 12 tribes.
Right.
Moses and Aaron are in the same tribe of the Levites.
Of
And
course.
they separated Aaron from the Levites to become the priests, which were the Kohanim.
Kohanim, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thus did Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel unto the Levites, according unto all that the Lord commanded Moses touching the Levites, so did the children of Israel unto them. And the Levites purified themselves, and they washed their clothes. And Aaron offered them for a sacred gift before the Lord. And Aaron made atonement for them to cleanse them. It seems like when they're talking, people forget that Aaron, and it's not necessary, is a Levite. It's just, just sort of, it's something they don't have to be reminded about. Anyhow.
What? That Aaron is a Levite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's from the tribe of Levi, same as Moses.
Right.
And after that went the Levites in to do their service in the tent of meeting before Aaron and before his sons, as the Lord had commanded Moses concerning the Levites. So did they unto them. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, This is that which pertaineth unto the Levites. From 25 years old and upward, they shall go in to perform the service in the work of the tent of meeting.
Just for 1 second, here it says from 25 years old and up. Last week we read it was from 30, and here it says, and from the age of 50. So that the Levites would serve from 25 to 50. But last week it says from 30 to 50. And that's because for the first 5 years, they would be in training.
And from the age of 50 years, they shall return from the service of the work and shall serve no more, but shall minister with their brethren in the tent of meeting to keep the charge, but they shall do no manner of service. Thus shalt thou do unto the Levites touching their charges.
So, and the reason is again, because the work was so heavy. It's like people who work, I know my brother's in construction, and his body, he's now like 10 years younger than me, so he's going to be 66 in October. His body is like, he's in a lot of pain often because of the work of carrying the lumber, and he does a lot of heavy work. So the Levites, and you'll see the different positions and the things they had to do. They had to carry poles, they had to take the Mishkan down, they had to put it back up. They did a lot of heavy work. And it said, so at 50, they were going to be retired, but they would, it says, minister with their brethren. In other words, the younger ones coming up, they would train them, they would teach them, they would give them their wisdom, keep the charge, they would oversee so that, they weren't completely out of it, but all their experience wouldn't go to waste. Thus shall you do to the Levites, touching their charges, so that they would continue to be able to do the work. Okay. Oh, no, I don't go to chapter 9. It's on chapter 13. Okay. No, where am I here? Numbers? No, I am at 9. Sorry. I'm at the end of the thing already. Okay. Miriam, do you want to read some?
Abyssal.
Okay, Abyssal.
And the Lord spoke unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the first month of the 2nd year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying.
Yeah, the first month, we know immediately what's going to come next.
What do you mean?
You'll see.
Pesach.
Exactly.
Right, okay. Let the children of Israel keep the Passover in the.
It's really Pesach.
Pesach.
Passover is a terrible word. It's Pesach.
Pesach.
Yeah.
Pesach. Its appointed season. In the 14th day of this month, at dusk, You shall keep it in its appointed season, according to all the statutes of it, and according to all the ordinances thereof shall you keep it. And, and Moses spoke unto the children of Israel that they should keep the Pesach. And they kept the Pesach in the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at dusk in the wilderness of Sinai, according to all that the Lord commanded Moses. So did the children of Israel. But there were certain men who were unclean by the dead body of a man, so that they could not keep the Pesach on that day. And they came before Moses and before Aaron on that day. And those men said unto him, We are unclean by the dead body of a man. Wherefore are we to be kept back, so as not to bring the offering of the Lord in its appointed season among the children of Israel?
You see, he keeps repeating appointed time, the moed. Right from
Right.
the very beginning in Genesis, God gave us this appointed season. We can't choose when to do it. We have to do it in its right time. And that's why the calendar is so specific, the first month of the year. Okay.
Like that's so special.
Yeah.
But for years, I didn't know that. And it could be so easily overlooked because it's just kind of breezed through the first chapters where it says, keeping the times and the seasons that we should keep, the
Right.
appointed seasons. And it's so beautiful that God ordered the universe in that way, and we see it right from the beginning.
And it was before the creation of Israel, before the creation of the Jewish people.
Right.
It was
Right.
for all the world.
Yeah. And it's so easy not to see that,
Yeah.
appointed seasons.
Right.
Okay. And Moses said unto them, Stay ye, that I may hear what the Lord will command concerning you. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying.
So you see, Moses just didn't give his opinion, because here they're saying, what happens if we become unclean, if we approach somebody dead? What are we
Right.
supposed to do if we can't keep the Pesach? And Moses says, stay, I will hear. God spoke to Moses, mouth to mouth.
Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If any man of you or of your generations shall be unclean by reason of the dead body, or be in a journey afar off, yet he shall keep the Pesach unto the Lord. In the second month, on the 14th day at dusk, they shall keep it. They shall eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs.
That's why we see in the calendar Pesach Sheni. This is the second Pesach. A month afterwards, just in case they were not home, they were not in Jerusalem. Remember, Pesach was one of the three Shalosh Regalim.
Right.
When they had to go to Jerusalem. So if they couldn't be there at that time, they could go a month later.
And has nothing to do with the celebration of the first 2 days as Pesach.
Sorry?
Hello?
What do you mean? What do you say?
Well, what, in traditional.
Oh yeah,
rabbinic
no, it has nothing to do with this.
No,
The
I
added
know. I'm
day-
just making that point.
Exactly. Yeah, because our rabbis have added one extra day so that we would be in tune with Israel, but Israel would have finished the day before. So when in the West, we needed to do it a day before.
Right.
Okay. 12.
Okay. They shall leave none of it unto the morning, nor break a bone thereof. According to all the statute of the Pesach, they shall keep it. Just about the thing about breaking the bone. Christianity has spoken of this as Yeshua or Jesus as the Lamb because no bones were broken.
Exactly.
But that's not what that means. Or I don't think that doesn't mean the way they interpret it as far as I understand.
It's possible that it could be an application of it. It's very possible.
It could apply to the fact of it. It could be
Because
maybe.
we know that Yeshua was special, but the whole
Yes, so
idea was that they're saying that he was the Lamb of God who bore the sins of the world, and that's not this what this is saying.
Right, okay, right, you're
Yeah,
right.
when they didn't break a bone, it had to do with royalty, and in a way, we were expecting what's called King Mashiach, and for us, in many ways, he was like a king. He,
Yeah,
yeah. So
he
that
was very special. But how was not breaking a bone like royal having to do with royalty?
because in those days it was just a very practical thing. Kings, uh, the people who didn't have a lot to eat would eat everything. They would break the bones and eat the marrow and chew it. But the royalty had plenty of money. They had plenty of food. And as a sign of that, they would never break a bone. The,
Oh, really?
yeah, yeah.
See, didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a little bit like there was a period of our history. I think the late 1800s, or when it was only the people who worked outside who were tanned. The women of royalty, the women of means, always carried an umbrella, and their skin was like porcelain white.
Right.
Same idea.
Okay, now that's interesting. And I guess it's true, like this is an important application um, to Yeshua because he was special.
He was
There was
very
no one
special.
else who had the role that he had, just as
No,
Moses was special.
exactly,
Nobody had the role that he had.
exactly. But he wasn't God.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
13.
But the man that is clean and is not on the journey and forbeareth to keep the Pesach, that soul shall be cut off from his people, because he brought not the offering of the Lord in its appointed season. That man shall bear his sin.
Now, look how important this is. If a man does not keep Pesach, if he does not bring his family to keep Pesach, he shall be cut off from Israel because he didn't bring the offering during the Moedim. You know how many of our people just don't care about celebrating Pesach?
Yeah.
Basically, they're cut
And cut
off.
off doesn't mean killed, it just means,
No, it means, but in a way, it does. Because when we're
yes,
cut off from our community, there's something that spiritual inside that
yeah,
dies.
spiritual
And
death.
then the next one, look at this. Do you mind if I read it?
No, please.
If a stranger, ger, hagur, who lives among you, and will keep the Pesach according to the statute, the chukim of the Pesach, because it's a chok. Here, let me just be sure. God, Pesach, and according to the ordinance thereof. Why can't I see it? Oh, here, hachukat. The chok, the Pesach, is a chok. We may not understand why we have to do it, but God is telling us we just need to do it. So you shall have one statute, one chok. Here it says, where is it? Chukah echat. Yichye lachem, for you, for the ger, and for the one who is born, a natural born Israelite. There's only one Torah, one chok, one mishpat. There's no separate things for different people. All one.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Miriam.
And on the day that the tabernacle was reared up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, even the tent of the testimony. And at even, there was upon the tabernacle, as it were, the appearance of fire until morning. So it was always. The cloud covered it, and the appearance of fire by night. And whenever the cloud was taken up from over the tent, then after that the children of Israel journeyed, and in the place where the cloud abode, there the children of Israel encamped. At the commandment of the Lord, the children of Israel journeyed, and at the commandment of the Lord they encamped. As long as the cloud abode upon the tabernacle, they remained encamped. And when the cloud tarried upon the tabernacle many days, then the Lord of Israel kept the charge of the Lord, the children of Israel kept the charge of the Lord and journeyed not. And sometimes the cloud was a few days upon the tabernacle. According to the commandment of the Lord, they remained encamped. And according to the commandment of the Lord, they journeyed. And sometimes the cloud was from evening until morning. And when the cloud was taken up in the morning, they journeyed. Or if it continued by day and by night, when the cloud was taken up, they journeyed. Whether it were 2 days or a month or a year, that the cloud tarried upon the tabernacle, abiding thereon, the children of Israel remained encamped and journeyed not. But when it was taken up, they journeyed. At the commandment of the Lord, they encamped, and at the commandment of the Lord, they journeyed. They kept the charge of the Lord, the commandment of the Lord by the hand of Moses.
You know, when I was reading this, you know, everything I read, I like to look at how we apply it to our lives, which is how our
Yeah,
rabbi always taught us. And, you know, it was so amazing to me to think that while we were encamped in a place, the cloud was there in the day and the fire was there by night. And when this cloud rose up, they left. Like sometimes we don't know how to do something or how to get something done, or there's obstacles that come in our way. We don't have a we don't have that cloud with us to guide us every step of the way. And you know, I went through something this morning that was just so distressful, in the congregation about our emails and our website, and to the point I was so frustrated that I was literally in tears on the phone. And I got off the phone, and when I finally calmed down and I was, you know, reading this, I was saying, you know, God, you're always with us. And when there's something that I can't do, you will lead the way and you will show me what to do. And I was, you know, I was at a point where I was just so discouraged. I was ready to just, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I got an email from somebody who was, and we spoke on the phone for quite a while, and she was so encouraging. And I got another text from a friend who I hadn't spoken to in a long time, who was telling me also how, you know, she was talking about how she listens to these things and how she's encouraged by it. And you know, God has a way of showing us that we are not alone, that He's always with us no matter what. And not to get discouraged, but to go, to keep going ahead. He will guide us, He will show us, He will lead us, but we have to keep going. And I love it. The
yeah,
commandment of the Lord, they encamped. At the commandment of the Lord, they journeyed. He's still with us today. He's still keeping charge. Um, you know, it's not by the hand of Moses, but it's by the hand of each and every one of us who trusts in God and is willing to follow His commands. And here in these next verses are so beautiful. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Make 2 trumpets of silver, of beaten work you shall make them, and they shall beat for you to call the congregation and to cause the camps to set forward. And when they blow, all the congregation shall gather themselves to the door of the tent of meeting. And if they blow just once, then the heads of the thousands of Israel, they shall gather themselves to you. And when you blow an alarm, the camps who lie on the east shall take their journey. And when you blow an alarm," so the first ones are going to be on the east side, and we're going to see later who they are. And now just the idea of these trumpets, you know, we hear about it in the armies today, you know, when they blow the reveille, and this is where they get it from. But each sound had a reason. Each sound, they would know what it was all about. God was giving them order and giving them how things were supposed to work. When you blow an alarm the second time, the camp on the south side shall set forth. They shall blow an alarm for their journeys. And the sons of Aaron, the priests, shall blow with the trumpets. and they shall be to you as a statute forever. Again, a chukat. We don't always know why we have to do these things, but we have to do them because God said so. And when you go to war in your land against the adversary who oppresses you, then you shall sound an alarm with the trumpets, and you shall be remembered before the Lord your God, and you shall be saved from your enemies. So just imagine, he's telling us, when these trumpets blow, God will hear. You shall be remembered before the Lord. You shall be saved from your enemies. He's promising that. All we need to do is be obedient. And
We blow
also,
our own personal trumpet, and God hears us.
exactly. Some of us, when we blow our nose, it sounds like a trumpet. And the day of your gladness and when you're rejoicing, when he calls us to rejoice together in our Moedim, when he calls us for the Moedim, Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, all these Moedim, and in your Rosh Chodeshim, our new moons, you shall blow the trumpets over your Olim, the burnt offerings, or Olot, and over the sacrifices, your Shelamim, your peace offerings, and they shall be to you as a memorial. God will remember. I am the Lord your God. Always to remember, Ani Adonai Elokechem. Then it came to pass in the second year, in the second month, on the 20th day of the month, that the cloud was taken up from over the tabernacle of the testimony. And the children of Israel set forth by their stages out of the wilderness of Sinai, and the cloud abode in the wilderness of Paran. And they took their first journey, according to the commandment of the Lord, by the hand of Moses. So before we read, the first one was on the east, and the first one to go, and here it's telling you who they are. The first place, the standard of the camp of the children of Judah. So we know that Judah and Zebulun, and where's the third one? We have Judah. Hold on a second. I wrote it all down here. So the first were Judah and Issachar. Here, Issachar and Zebulun. Those were on the east side. Those were the first three troops, three of the tribes. Remember, the tribes were divided up in 4 different camps: east, south, west, and north. And in the center was the tabernacle. So first, the east ones went. And then the tabernacle was taken down. So once those 3 started moving, they knew to take the tabernacle down. So the sons of Gershon and the sons of Merari, who bore the tabernacle, they set forward. Next, we see the standard of the camp of Reuben. They were on the south. And like it said before, the south set out second, which was Simeon and Gad and where is it? And Reuben, Simeon, and Gad. So those were the second. And then the third of the Levites, third tribe, the Kohatim, were the bearers of the sanctuary. They set forth so that the tabernacle might be set up against the comings, because the tabernacle would be set up afterwards, but they were going to carry the sanctuary. The standard of the camp that was next were the ones to the west. So we have Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin. Those were in the west. And the standard of the camp now to the north would be Dan and Asher, Naphtali and Asher. So those would be the last ones. Thus were the journeyings of the children of Israel according to their armies. They set forward. Then we come to another section here. Then Moses said he calls him Hobab, the son of Reuel the Midianite, Moses' father-in-law. We are journeying, the son of Reuel, or what was his name? What was Moses' father-in-law?
Jethro,
Jethro.
Yitro.
Another name was Reuel. But now Moses is speaking to Hobav, Jethro's son. We're journeying to the place of which the Lord said, I will give it to you. Come with us, and we will do good. We will do good for you. For the Lord has spoken good concerning Israel. And he said to him, I will not go. I won't leave my own land and my kin and my family. No, I will, but I will depart to my own land and to my kindred. So he was going to go back to Midian. And he said, and Moses said, don't leave us, I pray you, for as much as you know, because you know how to encamp in the wilderness. I mean, Moses is very practical. And you shall be to us instead of eyes. You shall watch out for all these things. And it shall be, if you go with us, it will be that whatever good the Lord shall do to us, it will be the same to you. But they didn't go with them, and obviously God knew, and there was a reason.
But here it says, and they said, oh, I guess it's not, he doesn't say, because when they continue on and they say, and they set forward, it's not with him.
No, he didn't go.
Okay.
So they set forward from the mount of the Lord 3 days' journey. And the ark of the covenant of the Lord went before them 3 days' journey to seek out a resting place. We're going to see that always the ark of the Lord, the trumpets, the Kohanim would go first, because the battles that we would have to fight would be fought by God himself for us. And most of the battles that we have are spiritual battles. And we always have to place God before us, not run ahead of him. And the cloud of the Lord was over them by day when they set forward from the camp. And it came to pass when the ark set forward that Moses said, oh, I love this. We sing this every Shabbat. Rise up, O Lord, and let your enemies be scattered. Remember, Vayi ben Soaron, Vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, Ve'afutzu oivecha, Ve'anusu misanecha mipanecha. Well, that's not here. That's
I know. Just
yeah, but that's continued. And when it rested, he said, return, O Lord, to the 10,000s of the family of Israel. Always, God, he's asking us to stay with us. Shuvah, return, O Lord. Be with tens of thousands of families of Israel. And then we go to chapter 11. Jerry, you want to continue reading?
And the people were as murmurers, speaking evil in the ears of the Lord. When the Lord heard it, his anger was kindled, and the fire of the Lord burnt among them, and devoured in the uttermost part of the camp. And the people cried unto Moses, and Moses prayed unto the Lord, and the fire abated. And the name of that place was called Taberah, because the fire of the Lord burnt among them. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting, and the children of Israel also wept on their part and said, would that we were given flesh to eat.
Okay, let me.
So that's why
here.
they blame the mixed people, blame the mixed multitude.
Yeah, but the one thing we have to look at very clearly, the people were murmuring, they were kvetching, they were complaining, speaking evil in the ears of the Lord. Imagine, the people were doing it, and God was really upset. And the people cried to Moses, and it says here, even though it's translated as the mixed multitude, believe it or not, in Sepharia, it was translated correctly. The riffraff, the rabble-rousers, because it's not the Erev Rav. If you look in the Hebrew,
Okay.
here, what does it say? Ha-asafsuf. Very different from the Erev Rav.
Wow.
So even though they blamed the Erev Rav, they were not. These were like the Antifa of that day. Those who were causing trouble.
Ruffians and
The ruffians, the rabble rousers, those who
right.
just wanted to cause trouble. And they fell a lusting. And what were they lusting after? Give us meat.
But
Now,
why here it says, and the children of Israel also wept on their part.
of
What?
course,
No,
because
but this, so they're saying for the ruffians or whatever
it's
that were
easy to
among them.
it's easy to for a few to disturb the many.
Okay.
And then it says, were we given to flesh to eat? They left Egypt with their sheep, their flocks. As a matter of fact, when we made it to the promised land, Reuben asked Moses, can I stay on this side of the Jordan? Because my flocks are too great. They had plenty to eat. But when you are so blinded by fear and anxiety, you don't see what you have. You only see what you don't have. And that's what was going on in the heart of the children of Israel. They had not learned to trust in God. They were blinded by their fear.
Wow.
Go
We
ahead, Jared.
remember the fish which we were wont to eat in Egypt for naught, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all. We have not save this manna to look to. Now the manna was like coriander seed, and the appearance thereof is the appearance of bdellium. The people went about and gathered it, and ground it in mills, and beat it in mortars, and seethed it in pots, and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was as the taste of a cake baked with oil. And when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it. And Moses heard the people weeping, family by family, every man at the door of his tent. And the anger of the Lord was kindled greatly, and Moses was displeased.
So hold on for a second. So here we see God is sending a miraculous gift to the people and providing them with food in the desert. They call it manna, but in Hebrew it's really haman, that was delicious. And all they had to do was go out and pick it up. And they were weeping. It wasn't enough. How often are we blessed? Are we blessed so much? God has provided us with so much, and one little thing goes wrong, and we're weeping. We're falling apart, and we forget everything that God did. These stories are so real, and we're exactly the same as we were then. And let me tell you, it's not pleasing to our God. And then we wonder why we suffer. We drive ourselves crazy.
And Moses said unto the Lord, wherefore hast thou dealt ill with thy servant? And wherefore have I not found favor in thy sight, that thou layest the burden of all this people upon me? Have I conceived all this people? Have I brought them forth, that thou shouldst say unto me, carry them in thy bosom, as a nursing father carrieth the sucking child, unto the land which thou didst swear unto their fathers? Whence should I have flesh to give unto all this people? For they trouble me with their weeping, saying, give us flesh that we may eat. I am not able to bear all this people myself alone, because it is too heavy for me.
I get that completely. As a leader, sometimes I say, God, what have you done? How am I going to take care of all these people? It's just too much for me. I can't take it anymore. And here Moses is saying, why are you doing this to me? Haven't I found favor in you? You're putting all the burden of this people on me. Did I give birth to this people? Did I form them? It was you. You did it. It's too heavy for me. I totally get that. I remember my rabbi used to talk about that. It was too heavy. And this is where we see that God steps in Go ahead, Jer.
And if thou deal thus with me, kill me, I pray thee out of
Kill
hand.
me.
If I have favor in thy sight, and let me not look upon my wretchedness.
He's suicidal at this point. He's ready to just pack it all in. Kill me.
And the Lord said unto Moses, gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom thou knowest to be the elders of the people and officers over them, and bring them unto the tent of meeting, that they may stand there with thee. And I will come down and speak with thee there, and I will take of the spirit which is upon thee, and will put it upon them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with thee, that thou bear it not thyself alone.
Okay, let me interject.
And say thou
Hold on, Jerry.
unto...
Jerry, hold on a second, because I want to just interject here, because this is important. I hear a lot, there's a lot of people who are so entranced about the spirit, almost as if the spirit was a separate entity. And they're forgetting Hebrew. They're forgetting the understanding of Hebrew. And it's like the spirit can also be... Hello? Did you say something? The spirit can also be understood as wisdom. God gave Moses wisdom. I will take, and this is right from our rabbis. Some of the things they say are wonderful. And he says, God is telling him to choose 70 men who he knows are elders. They have experience. They have wisdom. And he says, I'm going to take some of the wisdom which I've given to you and give it to them. It doesn't mean that when you give, if I have wisdom and I share my wisdom with someone else, it doesn't mean that I lose my wisdom. He's not losing some of his spirit, some of the breath that's in him. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with, it's a little bit like if I take a match and I light one candle, and with that candle I light a whole bunch of other candles. It's not taking the light away from the candle. It's just sharing that, and that's what's happening here. God is taking some of the wisdom, putting it upon the other people.
Where was the when it was done before? When was it Yitro who said, "Go find men like to help judge"?
Exactly.
With the that was earlier on.
Yes, and here it's going to be again. Only this time it's 70, which always represents the nations. 70 is an understanding of all the nations of the world.
I think they had the Sanhedrin was 70 men as well.
Yes.
And say thou unto the people, sanctify yourselves against tomorrow, and ye shall eat flesh, for ye have wept in the ears of the Lord, saying, would that we were given flesh to eat, for it was well with us in Egypt. Therefore the Lord will give you flesh, and ye shall eat. You shall not eat 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, but a whole month, until it come out of your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you, because that ye have rejected the Lord who is among you, and have troubled him with weeping, saying, why now came we forth out of Egypt?
Isn't it interesting that even though many of our parents never read the Torah, if we wanted to eat something and we wanted to eat too much, here, have this until it comes out of your nose. This is where it comes from. It's like the Torah is in us and we don't even know it. It's marvelous.
And Moses said, the people among whom I am are 600,000 men on foot, and yet thou hast said, I will give them flesh, they may eat a whole month. If flocks and herds be slain for them, will they suffice them? Or if all the fish of the sea be gathered together for them, will they suffice them? And the Lord said unto Moses, is the Lord's hand waxed short? Now shalt thou see whether my word shall come to pass unto thee or not. And Moses went out and told the people the words of the Lord, and he gathered 70 men of the elders of the people and set them round about the tent. And the Lord came down in the cloud and spoke unto them, and took of the Spirit as was upon him, and put it upon the 70 elders. And it came to pass that when the Spirit rested upon them, they prophesied, but they did so no more. But they remembered 2 men in the camp. The name of the one was Eldad, and the name of the other was Medad. And the Spirit rested upon them, and they were of them that were recorded, but had not gone out unto the tent, and they prophesied in the camp. And there ran a young man and told Moses and said, Eldad and Medad are prophesied in the camp. And Joshua, the son of Nun, the minister of Moses, came from his youth up and answered and said, My Lord Moses, shut them in. Next reader.
And Moses said to him, Are you jealous for my sake? I wish that all of the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his wisdom on them. And Moses withdrew into the camp, he and the elders of Israel.
Just one thing I'm thinking of, like those 2 men
Yes.
who were prophesied, they were a little bit, they weren't doing it exactly how the other men were doing it, right? They were just outside or in a different area, no?
Well, I guess because
No,
remember,
which is okay. But the
but
point,
there were 70. There were 70 in the camp.
yes, but those 2 men were acting differently.
Yeah, I guess God had touched them as well.
No, my point is this.
Yeah.
It's interesting that everything has to do with the intention of the heart.
Right.
Because the part where, the 4 and fire, remember where they're offering Nadab and Abihu or whatever?
Right.
Abihu, offered 4 and fire, or you wonder what that means. It was like pride or whatever. They weren't worshiping in earnest. They were doing it for their own reasons, and they were killed.
Right.
But here, the same thing happens, and nothing happened because their hearts were in the right place.
Exactly. You want to continue here reading, Mer? 28?
I find it hard to read.
Okay, I'll read. It's okay, I'll read. And Joshua the son of Nun, the minister of Moshe from his youth up, answered and said, My Lord Moses, shut them in. And Moses said to them, Are you jealous for me? I wish that all of the Lord's people were prophets, that the Lord would put his wisdom on them. And Moses withdrew into the camp, he and the elders of Israel. And there went forth a wind from the Lord. It's interesting. The Ruach is the same word as the Spirit, from the Lord, and brought across quail from the sea, and let them fall by the camp, about a day's journey on this side, and a day's journey on the other side.
Sorry.
Round about the camp, and about 2 cubits above the face of the earth. And the people rose all that day, and all night, and all the next day, and gathered the quail. He who gathered least gathered 10 heaps, and they spread them all abroad for themselves all around the camp, while the flesh was still between their teeth before it was even chewed. The anger of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord killed the people with a very great plague. And the name of that place was called Kibrot Hata'ava, because there they buried the people who lusted. And from Kibrot Hata'ava, the people journeyed into Hatzerot, and they abode at Hatzerot. So sometimes I think we could eat ourselves to death. This is a very Ashkenazi disease. And next. And we're going to finish in this chapter 12. And here, Miriam, not Miriam Birnbaum, Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman whom he had married, for he had married a Cushite woman. And they said, Has the Lord indeed spoken only with Moses? Hasn't he also spoken with us? And the Lord heard it. Now the man Moses was very humble, meek, more than all the men who were on the face of the earth. And we see the word here for meek was anav. That same word had to do with when Yeshua said, "Blessed are those who are meek." When we had to at Yom Kippur, when we had to humble ourselves, it uses the same word, which means impoverish our spirit, make ourselves meek, humble ourselves before God. Moses was very meek, more than all
Just
the
one,
men.
just one thing. What's maybe it gets to it later, but where it says Miriam and Aaron spoke against Moses because of the Cushite woman who
It
he had
said,
married.
it said the first one, very first verse. I just read that.
Yes, I know. But what's that mean? Because then it just then they just went.
Well, we don't know why. We don't know why because the Cushim were the Ethiopian. Maybe they were upset that he married an Ethiopian.
Okay, because then it does no response about that. Just has the Lord spoken only with Moses. Okay, I was wondering.
Well, they were gossiping. And they were
Oh,
also saying, not only that, they were also saying, has he only spoken to Moses? Hasn't he spoken to us too? Like they were jealous
okay,
of his position. They were upset with him about a couple of things.
okay,
We don't know all the family issues. It doesn't tell us.
okay.
Now, and Moses and the Lord spoke suddenly to Moses and to Aaron and to Miriam. Come out, all three of you, to the tent of meeting. Oof, I would have been scared to death.
Yeah.
And the three of them came out. And the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud and stood at the tent, the door of the tent, and called Aaron and Miriam. And they both came forward. And he said, hear now, listen, listen. If there, to my words, if there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, made myself known to him in a vision or in a dream. That's how a prophet would hear from God. But Moses is not so. He is trusted in all my house, and with him I speak pe a pe, mouth to mouth, face to face, even manifestly, and not in dark speeches or in riddles. And in the similitude of the Lord does he behold, and he has seen me. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant, against Moses? And the anger of the Lord was kindled against them, and he left. And when the cloud was lifted up from over the tent, Miriam was white with leprosy, white as snow, with tza'at. And Aaron looked at Miriam, and behold, she had tza'at. And Aaron said to Moses, O my Lord, don't lay not, I pray you, sin upon us, for we have done foolishly, and for that we have sinned. Do not let her be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he comes out of the mother's womb. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, Elena refanala, Elena refanala, Elena refanala, Elena refanala. Heal her now, O God, I beseech you. See, Moses didn't turn around and say, like many of us would do, and I am one of those, I have to say, you see, look what you did. You spoke against him. That's why you're sick. He didn't do that. May I learn from this. He just said, Lord, please heal her. He was so humble. And the Lord said to Moses, if her father had spit in her face, wouldn't she have hidden from shame for 7 days? So let her be shut outside the camp for 7 days, and after that she shall be brought in again. Let me tell you, during those 7 days of being outside the camp alone in the desert, Must have scared Miriam to death, so she was never going to open her mouth again. And Miriam was shut outside the camp for 7 days. And the people did not journey until Miriam was brought in again. And afterward, the people journeyed from Hatzerot and pitched in the wilderness of Paran. Very, very. Every week, these parashot are so powerful. There's so much in them, and even though we've read them before. There's always something new to learn, and always something we can apply to
I wonder
ourselves.
why Aaron wasn't, why just Miriam?
I believe, and our rabbis say, as our rabbi had said, is that he already sinned big time with the
With the
golden
calf.
calf. If he wasn't killed then, and he wasn't given leprosy now, he certainly got the message watching his younger sister or his older sister. I think he was the youngest. No, Aaron? No, he was the second. I think Miriam was the younger one, but I'm not sure. Do you remember?
I
Anyway,
thought Aaron was the oldest, no?
was he older than Moshe?
I'm not sure, but I
Anyway,
thought.
I don't, Jerry, do you remember?
Well, Miriam was watching Moshe when he was in the river, so she
Oh,
was
that's
older than
true.
Moshe.
In the
Oh, so maybe
basket. Yeah,
she's the
you're right.
youngest.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So I imagine that Aaron was older than Miriam, and Miriam older than Moshe, just from that story. But just
Or
again,
he could have been younger. Whatever. We have to look it up. Anyway,
no,
that's
Aaron, I think, was older.
okay. But that's not my point. My point is basically that Aaron was given a very high position as Kohen Hagadol, and he certainly would not have been able to serve if he had had leprosy. And God knew his heart and here he was the one who went to Moses and said, please pray for her. You know, the servant is not the one who is the most perfect among us. A servant has been humbled, and you cannot serve until you are humbled. You can be a dictator, but you can't be a true servant. And I believe that that's the reason that he wasn't given to Arat at that time. Just watching his sister having suffered that would have broken his heart. Watching, when he had to watch all those in the family of the Levites had to go in and kill how many Israelites at the time of the golden calf. So he would have experienced a great deal of humility during that time, and that's why
And he lost
and then he lost his two sons, his
his
two
two
older sons.
sons, yeah.
Yeah, he paid a high price for the position that he was going to hold, and I know our rabbi always said, those who are given much, much is expected. You know, when you're put in a position of service, or when you're put in a position of responsibility, you are held at a higher standard. And that's why the people of Israel, we are held at a higher standard, because we were to be called the Kohanim of the world. Before the Kohanim were set apart from Aaron, we were the priests for the whole world. We were to stand in the gap between God and all the nations. And we are still in that position today. We are or Legoyim. You know, I watched, my friend Sandra sent me a video. Was it Sandra? No, I don't remember. Somebody sent me a video of that. You know, last month there was a wife and two children, two older children, a rabbi's wife, who were murdered in Israel. I think they were shot dead, or I don't know if they were killed in my memory's horrible, but they were killed. And the rabbi, he was so amazing to me. Because for me, I don't know if I could have done this. He went, he prayed when his wife was killed. He kept her liver, her kidneys, her eyes to be donated. And the kidney was donated to a Palestinian man, even though it was the Palestinians who were responsible for killing his wife. I mean, that is ultimate forgiveness. I am not sure I could have done that. I really don't know. And I hope I never am called to have to make that kind of decision. But this was truly a man of God. And you know, when we're called for something greater, when we're called to serve the living God, we will be called to do very difficult things, and that God will give us the strength to do it. We need to keep praying that He does give us the strength to do it. So we learned so much from these Torah portions, and we need to remember to keep things in context, to always step back, to look at what the meaning is, the principle, the moral behind these stories, not to hold them in that time, but to hold the morale, the parable, so that we know how to live today and not to fall apart, not to be upset when things are not going our way, but to understand that God is always with us. His cloud is with us by day and His fire by night, and He will never leave us or forsake us. So, Jerry, would you like to do the Aaronic benediction? We forgot to
Yeah,
do it.
okay, we'll go ahead.
Yeah, we
Just,
didn't do it
just
last
a little, just a little note of interest.
Okay.
I think it was this benediction was in last week's Parsha
It
Naso.
was, yes, and you weren't here. I thought of you then.
Our God and God of our fathers, bless us with the threefold blessing written in the Torah by the servant Moses and spoken by Aaron and his sons, the priests. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'kiddushasoi, shel Aaron v'tivonu levarech es amo Yisrael b'ahava. Yevarechecho Adonai v'yishmerecho Yoel Adonai pano elecha v'chuneka Yisho Adonai pano elecha v'yosem lecho shalom. V'samu et shemi al bnei Yisrael v'ani avorchem.
Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord shine His face upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift His countenance upon you and give you His shalom. So shall they put my name upon Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Beautiful, beautiful blessing, beautiful teaching. Thank you again, Jerry, for your participation, Brian for being with us, Miriam, and may God touch us and bless us for the rest of this week as we look forward to our Shabbat.